badges and stuff for students, teachers, and admins. I'm going to keep trying to invite some of the others.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. So my name is Jessica. I did teach in Denver Public Schools. I'm now a personalized learning field manager for the district. And so we have started very recently, in the past couple of weeks, really trying to solidify some ideas that we have about badging professional development and kind of rethinking how we personalize the professional development for our staff, and then also just kind of thinking through the process of badging in terms of it feels like there's kind of two types of badges. There are the very skills-based badges, which I think are fairly easy to kind of quantify and have people go through and take care of all of the different steps and then submit and say, yes, now I've earned this badge. But I think the things that are related to pedagogy and the more philosophy kind of things that you would want people to be thinking about, those are a little bit harder, I think, to badge, especially being that there aren't a lot of other models to look at for that right now. So that's kind of the headspace that I'm in with badging.
Out of curiosity, what exactly does badging mean?
So badging, for me, what it means is really thinking about what are the proficiencies that are necessary for being able to say, yes, I am proficient in either this skill, or I have attained this knowledge, or I think in the most simple of senses, if you think about like Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, right? Like I do these things and I learn how to build a fire, and then I demonstrate that I can build a fire on my own, and by demonstrating that I learned all of those steps and that I can do it with proficiency, now I have earned that badge. And so, transferring that to kids, I started doing a little bit of that with my fourth graders, thinking about the Common Core standards and saying, okay, if these are the standards and these are the things that you need to be proficient at, once you've demonstrated to me that you are proficient at that, you can earn that badge, and now you can move on your own. And I think a lot of times badging really leads to more of a self-paced kind of an environment, because you're able to kind of lay it all out there and let kids move through it as quickly or as slowly as they need to.
That's cool. Hello, who do we have here now? We've got, sorry, I just noticed that my my lower third isn't on either.
I just realized the same. Hi, I'm Michelle. Thanks for getting me in.
No problem. Let's see here.
I don't know how to turn my lower third on.
There's a toolbox. It's that little red toolbox, Hangout toolbox. And then when you open that, the first round, the first icon, is your lower third. And if you haven't created, you can create one right there. Just type in what you want to display, then flip it, and you're done.
So we've already started talking a little bit about badges. I'm new to badges, so I just got a definition from it, about it, excuse me. So if you guys want to start talking and keep going from there.
So I'd actually really love to just kind of hear where everybody is from and kind of what your entry point is with badges, if you're already badging or if it's something that you're just kind of thinking about, and kind of what it is that you're wanting to do with badges. Do we want to kind of just, Mike, do you want to start and then we'll just kind of go down the line?
I'd be happy to. I don't have no stinking badges. Okay, just had to get that out. We are looking at it. I've had teachers using it in Edmodo, but that's about it. We did query our teachers, and a lot of them weren't interested in badges, but I think once we start introducing it, that might change. But I think I'd like to see it more integrated in with the students, but I'm interested to see how everyone else is using it.
Michelle, how about you?
So I work for the Department of Education in Indiana, and we're actually looking at doing some badging for professionals. so that they can start experiencing what it's like to earn badges and what the possibilities are so that they can start envisioning that for their classrooms if they're not already.
That's very cool. Dvora, did I say your name right?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All
And
right,
your lower third looks awesome.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't going to do badges, but I'm part of a team that is starting a new Montessori school. And the Montessori model has the students leading the way, that they drive their own educations. And I got this idea that I want us to be a small community, and I want us to have a student government, and I wanted to run a store. So then I realized that, well, if we have a student government, then we're going to have different jobs in the school, and we're going to have entrepreneurs, and we're going to have artists, and we're going to have videographers, we're going to have journalists. So we're going to do badges for those. And my idea is that we're going to start on a level of like a guild. They'll start like apprentice, and then journeyman, and then master, or I have to do some research on how guilds work. But we don't have any grades, and we don't have any formal tests. And the age range is between age 5 and 13, and we're all in the same class. So I think that this will give us the kind of framework that will, kind of organize things for the kids and for us. And I'm afraid I'm biting off more than I can chew, but I know I am anyway.
Aren't we always?
Yeah.
So Adam, where are you located?
Oh, I'm sorry. Adam Taylor. I teach high school science in Dixon, Tennessee. I'm a passionate science person and also almost as passionate about technology, so thought I'd hop in and try to learn something. I run a Teach Meet Nashville, and I'm actually doing a principal uncon just for principals in July 21st. But so thought I'd hop in on badges and see what they're about.
Awesome. So I realized just in the very few opportunities that we've had to meet and talk about badging for adults that in the simplest form, with looking at skills and just having a really good skills progression laid out, badging can be somewhat easy to kind of put a badge together and say, you did this and this and this, and now you've met those requirements, and here's your badge. But so many things, I think, for our students and for our teachers are not that black and white. And so I think that's where it gets really confusing for me, but also really exciting in that, how can we kind of think through the power of the badge? And for me, I really don't want badges to be something that's just, I don't want to award all these badges for seat time or, just have it be like an extra thing, like a certificate of completion at the end. I don't want kids to do the exact same thing with their geometry unit, but at the end of the geometry unit, we also give them a badge. Like, I really want the process of earning the badge to recreate the process of learning and to kind of put it back in their hands. And so I'm hoping that we can kind of get to that point with badges where they're not just awards or pins or certificates, but that they really hold that powerful meaning. Because I feel like some people have already kind of dismissed badges as a fad that came and went. And I wonder sometimes if it's because some of the badging projects were very much like, show up and now we give you a badge, or, it didn't have a lot of meaning attached to it.
It's good to hear somebody say something about what was tried and what didn't work, because for those of us who haven't actually implemented it, it gives us some understanding of what we need to be careful not to do.
It seems like badging can be done in several ways. You've got the kind of the scout version, which is badges for different types of skills, and then you have the hierarchical badging that Dvora talked about, where you have your basic, intermediate, advanced. do you guys see yourselves kind of mixing those two, or is it you're looking at more of a one or the other, or even another type of badging system?
Well, I was at a roundtable group at the end of ISTE. I was at the Online Educators Institute. And so one of the schools was sharing how they were doing badging with their PD. And it was kind of a combination of both. They had elements of badges you could earn for skills, essentially. And then they had the comprehensive badge that you took your skills and it filled into this, but it was the bigger picture. And I like what you said, Jessica, because I think it is about the process. That's what we really need to focus on. If we're going to transform learning and get back to that idea of learning as a process, the badging should reflect that. So I like the idea that you might earn smaller pieces along the way, but it's that big piece where it all comes together. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's maybe where we can meld both of those approaches to badging or recognizing learning.
Yeah, Michelle, that sounds similar to something that we've been trying to think about is what are those little incremental pieces that then lead to maybe a larger badge, and so, what are the steps along the way, but then also taking something and figuring out what are the different pieces of it, and then how can we badge kind of the micro credentials for that, but then have kind of more of an overarching badge for all the variety of micro-credentials, and also thinking about different entry points, because I think that's another place where badging can be really powerful is, if we're not attaching it to seat time, but we really are attaching it to proficiency or, competencies that we have. If it's all very competency-based, is there some kind of performance assessment or something that can be shown so that instead of a student or a teacher having to go through and do step-by-step to get the micro-credential to prove they already have that, where can they enter at a higher point and just say, well, I have all of these skills, let me prove it to you here, now I can move on, and not be taking all of that learning time up proving to someone that they know it, but just being able to say, here is the proof that I know this, and now I can just really focus on, going farther and taking that to a different level.
Yeah, I really like that you brought that up. I'm glad I made a note of that because that's something we haven't discussed, but it certainly needs to be part of the conversation. So thanks.
Yeah, certification's interesting. We're starting a student technology group that's going to support more of the apps and some of the instructional usage, not so much plugging wires in. And we're doing an institute this summer, and we are going to try to certify them on certain, certain programs. And so we're going to take them through a 15-minute performance assessment where they have to create something using the app or whatever, and then certify them with the badge. And so hopefully, ideally, is that the school site they'll have a way to display badges. So if a teacher wants to utilize their skill set, they can go in, look, and see. Okay, they've got badges in these two things. Now I can go. They would be a good student to come in and help us. So I think that's interesting too. Is how you take those badges and then make them public so that within your organization you can then see who is certified or qualified for certain things.
Mm-hmm. And then I want to kind of think about too, like how can, that's public knowledge, how can the next people coming through looking to earn that badge be using those people as teachers and resources, and now they're the experts, and so we're kind of building this huge repository of resources and reflections and learning artifacts as well as people who can kind of help with all of that. I think that's really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
We actually talked about that here in state. We had an unconference a couple of months ago for e-learning coaches or digital tech coach, whatever you want to call those people who support digital integration in schools. And the idea was they might want to do something where teachers could post their, quote, badge on their door or somewhere visible where their peers would see it, so they could say, hey, you know what you're doing with X, Y, or Z? And they could start networking in a less, they feel like they're a little maybe assertive if they're telling their peers, yeah, I'm doing these things, but a badge makes it a lot more accessible for someone to approach them. Does that make sense? And so they like the idea of just having like a visible signage saying, I'm certified in this, or I've tested the waters and I survived.
What do you guys think about the difference between digital and physical badges? Because I think the digital kind of stumps a lot of our teachers as far as how they would display it. You know, not everyone has an online presence, and so I'm wondering, even if you have, if you guys have, name badges or things that they wear that they could put them on at school, things like that, where it becomes more of a physical manifestation, which a lot of our teachers are more used to dealing with than a kind of a virtual.
I know one of our districts is doing that with their lanyards. They're making buttons. So the kids actually modeled it. We had a student e-leadership conference that was open to students statewide, and the school that sponsored it had created icon badges to go with each theme in the conference. So when students completed a session in one of those themes, they got the badge. So when they left, if they had covered all 4 themes, you could see that they were decked out.
It's like the Scouts thing.
Yeah, just like the sash, exactly.
Yeah, I think one of the things that for me is a challenge with the physical, having the buttons for badging, we've kind of done that a little bit in our district. The district has specific values, and so they have value pins, and a lot of times people will, nominate someone else at a meeting or, a PLC and just say, I want to recognize this person for displaying this value, and then, you can kind of earn the pin. But, there are only so many values, and so once everyone's earned at least one of those value pins, at that point, like, it almost feels like it's losing the value and that it's taking away from that recognition. You can recognize someone for the value of integrity a million times, but when you're attaching that physical piece to it, it almost feels like it's, devaluing it the second, third, and fourth time of, oh, well, I already have that one. It's not. I have integrity already. I don't need to keep being recognized for it, kind of a thing.
What if they lose integrity? You take the badge back?
Right, like give me the pin back. And for me too, like we've done some buttons, mostly for events, so they're not actually badges, but just when people come, it just mostly as a fun thing to recognize people for coming to, voluntary PD or attending Edcamp. We gave buttons to everybody when they came to Edcamp, and I think it's really fun. But now my lanyard is just so full, and I'm so bogged down with all these pins. I actually have to trade them out all the time, which again can be fun. But if we're really saying, what are all your proficiencies, I think it's so powerful to turn that into an online resume, and I don't want to have to walk up to someone and look at their lanyard or have something hanging in their classroom on the wall to be able to see what proficiencies you have or what badges have you earned. I really want to be able to go and see that online backpack and identify. And I also want it to be searchable. Like I want to be able to say, I'm going on here right now to earn this badge. I want to search and see who's earned this badge already before me. Who can I reach out to? Because it might be all of you who've earned that badge before. And if those badges are physical, I never would know that you all had those badges and that I could reach out to you. And I think the power of building that into your PLN is great. It's hard to do things digitally with people who aren't comfortable with that, but I think if we really just keep modeling it, and even to the point of helping them set up their online backpack, having a PD where you earned the badge at the end of the PD for that 15 minutes. Now we are going into your digital backpack. I'm showing you how to claim your badge, and I'm getting you that process. We're actually creating a badge for how to badge in our district, and hopefully we'll create a badge for how to put a badge in your backpack, because that's a proficiency too, and someone in their school could look and say, oh, my neighbor next door knows how to put this in the online backpack. I have a question. I'm going to go ask them. So
what are you using, Jessica, for just doing the online badges?
We are playing around with a few different things. We do want right now for it to be within our domain, and so we've set up using a WordPress, and then we're using Credly, the Credly add-on with the WordPress site. And then we're really trying to think about how we can get, because ideally we want to have everything, we don't want it to be only our district badges in one backpack and then having people having to have a separate backpack for everything else. We really want that one open backpack for them. I've used peer-to-peer university and I think it's really easy to create badges in peer-to-peer, but I don't love the format and the layout, and it's not super intuitive. So that's a little bit tricky.
I think whatever you use, it's got to integrate with what you're using for your portal or what have you, so that they're not logging out just to look at some badges in another system. It's it's got to integrate with whatever you guys as a community are using to do your online kind of social networking.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder, 'cause we're coming from the state perspective, everybody has different platforms. Is there anything that anyone's familiar with that works well, that plays well with Mini? Because I know we have some districts that are WordPress friendly, others that lean towards Blogger, and some that are Google Sites, that sort of thing. So the idea of how to, I don't necessarily want to use Mozilla Backpack because we did that with Connected Educator Month, and that was very difficult for people.
That's good to know. I mean, I know Edmodo does a good job of keeping it central for using that, but I found that's a little bit harder for our staff with professional learning as far as a platform. So I think we're struggling to, at least within our district, how would we integrate it in so that it's within what we're already using. And unfortunately, we're using SharePoint as our background, so as our portal. Even though I try to plug things into it, and anyway, so that's the challenge. You don't want to make it separate, and if you extend outside the district, then it gets even harder, I would imagine, at the state or the county level, because everyone's using so many different things. And what are the Twitter and Facebook are the commonalities between most people. So you'd almost have to see how you could integrate it into that and then back into the system.
Yeah, I was just curious if anybody had found something, and it sounds like I'm hearing kind of the same things, although peer-to-peer university I've never heard of before, so that's, I appreciate, it doesn't sound like it's ideal, but it's interesting to check it out.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm putting in some resources that I've been finding helpful, and that some of the people on my team have kind of curated as we kind of start this work. So I'm actually putting them in that shared EdcampHOME
Awesome.
notes.
Thank you.
So you guys can take a look and share anything that you guys have as well.
Does anybody use class badges?
I've played with it a little bit, but I haven't used it with, I haven't had the chance to use it with users. It's just been me playing around with it.
Okay, and is that because it's complicated, or because it's for kids, or does it not allow you to do with adults and kids, or what are the challenges?
I mean, for us, it just didn't really serve our purpose. And I think that's one of the things that might be holding badging back, is that there isn't really a fantastic system that interfaces with everybody else's district systems, and I think some of them become kind of a closed environment where, like with Edmodo badging, I think that's really powerful, but when students leave the district or leave a school that's using Edmodo, I don't want them to lose all of their badges. I want that to all exist somewhere for them still, just like their portfolio or anything else. I don't want it in a closed environment. So I think badging is just, it's not quite, the systems aren't quite built out there yet.
It'd be interesting because there's so much interoperability between a lot of programs. Google integrates into a lot of things. Twitter's starting to. If someone could get some type of badging platform that integrates well, I think that would be the $1 million idea.
Yeah.
Isn't it enough just to have a photo of something and a description that's attached to the photo?
Well, it can be depending on your needs, right? I mean, depending on how you're using it.
I have a badge for my, what's it called, IEASC certificate, which is the Innovative Educator Advanced Studies Certificate, which took forever. It took me 1.5 years by the time I was in the program to remember what it meant. But I mean, I have a badge for that, but it's just basically a photo, and the reason why it has meaning is because I have an actual certificate that has a set of skills and an e-portfolio that goes with it. So if you have an individual who's earned a badge, then you can have it associated with, some kind of demonstrated proficiency, either an e-portfolio or, something that, or a video that they created, or some kind of performance task that's linked to the actual badge. And then if an employer is looking at something, they can just go, oh, that badge, click the badge, and then they can see the actual evidence of whatever that person has.
It goes along with certifications, I guess, that we put on our resumes, and I think it's just an extension of that probably. And it's your environment too. I would imagine if you've got a Montessori classroom, having badges out in the physical environment would be something that would be completely practical. Whereas if you're working at a district level or higher, like Jessica said, you want to be able to access them without having to physically see them. So it's kind of finding what your environment is and the best way to support badging in that.
No, Montessori classroom is supposed to look like a living room. Mm-hmm. And you don't put stuff on the wall that's classroom stuff. You put framed photos and, like a formal living room type home environment with, feng shui or whatever you call it, feng shui, and, we're putting together a home environment for our classroom. For us, I think it's more a matter of roles. It's taking on a certain role, and all of the students will have an e-portfolio where we're going to anyway be designing their individual plans, since each student has to meet certain benchmarks that don't compete with any of the other students. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I was thinking more in terms of, you have a photo, you click the photo, and then the photo is linked to, some other kind of link, like you do in WordPress, and it takes you to some demonstrated evidence.
That's true, yeah.
Which is kind of like tying a badging to a portfolio almost.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the badge photo, and then you have the, on WordPress, you can link the photo to a link. So you click the photo on your WordPress, and then it goes straight to the link, which is your e-portfolio or your elevator pitch or whatever it is that shows that you.
Your evidence.
Something. Yes, your evidence. I mean, I don't know. I haven't done it yet, so I don't know what kind of problems I'm going to come up with. We're going to have lots of problems, I'm sure.
Devor, you might want to look into, if you do choose to go with WordPress, looking into that Credly add-on for WordPress, because you may be able to do that where on the site, they can click on it, and you can actually use your own pictures for the badges if you want to. But then if you click on the badge itself, then it will take you to that evidence. So that might actually serve your needs if you decide to go that route.
That sounds simple. That's great. I'm saving that as you tell me. Thank you.
So Adam, we haven't really heard your voice, and you're the one who wanted to get the conversation. Do you have any questions or things that you're thinking?
No, this all sounds great. I've got some investigations to do and try to decide if it's right for my classroom. That's all. I mean, I just do stuff with my students. I'm not in the position to make decisions at the school level, especially because I'm a new teacher at this particular school. But yeah, I like what I'm hearing, and it sounds like it could really be worthwhile. If nothing else, I can have badge earning opportunities for students before they use the microscopes to show some level of proficiency. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably what will happen.
Well, and a really neat idea too, just like to warm up to this, is even learning characteristics. An inquiry badge or a collaboration badge. Those are great, jumping off points.
Absolutely.
Yeah, or even just like character traits that are being exhibited in your classroom, thinking about, the things that are happening and having someone kind of identified so that you have that group of student experts who people can go to and, oh, well, so-and-so earned this badge, or even if it's technical skills or things, like, with your, maybe you have 5 kids who are really proficient with the microscopes and they earn that expert microscope setting up badge. And so when people are trying to set up their microscopes for the first few times, those are the kids that they go to, or, things like that can be helpful too.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Cool, people. Our time's up, so I'm going to end it. But thanks for helping me learn about it, and hopefully you guys got some answers yourselves.
Yeah, thanks so much. It was good to meet you all.
Yeah, nice to meet you all
Sorry
too.
for the still picture. Good job, guys.
Oh, we're good.
Right.
See ya.